just went off. Now, okay, now we're back online. So that husband and wife relationships, that opens like a whole Pandora's box of. So I don't want to open that box because you have to relate it to individual's situation. Now we know Prabhupada said no illicit sex, which means if you're not going to have children, you don't have sex. If you want to have sex, you have it once a month on the right day. You chant 50 rounds before. That's the goal. That's what we're shooting for. Can everybody do that? No. Can everybody try to do that? Yes. Can everybody eventually do that? Most people can. Okay. Okay, so Spiritual Sky says, I wear salwar karmis. Is that right? I get looked at like I'm crazy. Yeah, if you want to. If you don't want any women to be attracted to you, some crazy woman will be attracted to you, Spiritual Sky. Watch out. Radha Krishna saying, this hunger can, of course, be controlled with Krishna consciousness. I know I have the whole being uncontrollably hungry thing. I'm talking about real hunger here and not metaphorical hunger. I did a 10-day fast a few years ago. Was babysitting a friend's child and had to cook for him. It was torturous. Then this past December marathon, I was in charge of cooking for the Sankirtan crew, but was again fasting. Because it was for Krishna and wasn't offered, there was no problem with cooking, even having not eaten in 6 days. I guess my point is that Krishna needs to stay in the center. Yeah, exactly. That it can be done. We were having a wonderful class today. B.V. Madhava Maharaj is here. If you can go to the Alachua, where do they go to get that class? We go to Krishna.com, you go to listen, you go to what? Lectures, podcasts, live. You go to live, I think? No, you can't go to live. We're going to find out right now because you should listen to this class because it deals with this. You go to Krishna.com and then you go to Lecture Podcast Archive and then it's right up there. It's already there. You just want to give them can they go straight to that link? Can you give them that link there? Anyway, did I say that too fast? We're going to give you this link. After my class or tomorrow sometime, go to this link, listen to this class. It's really good because he was talking a little bit about self-discipline and I asked a question about it. And one of the things that came up, and it didn't come up exactly, but I'll preface a little bit before what my realization is and then what he answered, is that there's so many things we can't control, we don't have the ability to control. Not just things other people, I mean within our own self-discipline. And that in order to control that, we need Krishna to control it for us. So in the class we were talking about determination. And he was saying, one of the ways you get determination is Krishna says, I give what you lack. When you surrender to me, when you engage in my service, I give you what you lack. So I may lack determination, but the determination comes. Or can come. Ananyas chintayantamam ye janaparipasate. Tesham nityabhyaktanam yogakshema. I give what you lack. So I may be lacking some determination or some ability to control myself, and then Krishna gives that. Another thing he said is associate with others who have more of the qualities you want. And the third thing he talked a lot about was praying to Tulsi Devi. He said, Tulsi is like your mother, and Tulsi will enable you to do things which you yourself can't do. So it's one thing not to be able to do it or to acknowledge the power of the allurement of the senses. It's another thing to surrender to that allurement. So in part of the class, he was talking about that. Okay, you can't do it, but then there's these other powers who can work through you. And my own realization is that Krishna can change the way you see something. So at one moment, you may be seeing the other opposite sex as attractive. You may be desiring to enjoy them. Krishna can give you the vision to see them as objects of service. And not see them, not impersonalize them, and just see them as objects for your potential enjoyment that you have to enjoy. And Krishna can give you all kinds of realization about seeing the opposite sex as mother, or in the woman's case, as son. And totally subduing that hunger. Just like if you see something that you like, but it's not prasadam or it has eggs in it, then no matter how hungry you are, you're not going to eat it. So we kind of want to see the sexual appetite when we look at another person like prasadam with eggs. Or like unoffered prasadam. I can't touch it, it's not offered. Can't eat it. Okay. So I recommend that class. And all the classes of Varshan Swami. He's been here, so you can hear those the last few days. Okay, let's go back to the chat, Uddhava. We're lost. Okay. So, good point from Radha Krishna. You can control what's uncontrollable. Yes. Not only can you, we're supposed to. We've taken, those of us who are initiated, we've taken vows to control it. So, we should see that it is possible, maybe not by our own strength, but by Krishna's strength, if we have some determination. So Yash is saying, I'm just wondering, is lust the main problem for all material worlds, or are there specific problems for each material universe? Yeah, that's the problem. Prabhupada said even the problem for the demigods. Prabhupada said sex is the main hub of the whole material allurement, attachment. We could say the foundation, the pillars. It's all based on that, and it has different ramifications. It comes out not only in gross lust, but in pride and arrogance and all these things which are reflections of it in some way. So Prabhupada said that the more you become Krishna conscious, the more you become detached from sex desire. Because sex desire is also based on thinking that you're the body and the opposite sex is their body, so there's a natural attraction. If you realize you weren't the body and they weren't the body, that attraction wouldn't be there. So Prabhupada said, sexual connection strengthens the bodily conception. It strengthens material identification, and it strengthens material attachment, because the more there is sexual connection, the more the man and woman become attached. And the more difficult it is to become detached, which is the ultimate goal, as we know. So it forms, it's the binding force, and it's a cause of so much misery and trouble and disturbance and craziness. You see how crazy people go over the opposite sex and broken relationships and getting back together, and your best friend steals your wife and you go crazy, or you're asking this girl out and you're madly in love and she won't go out with you and you go crazy, you become depressed, or, your girlfriend didn't call you for 2 days and you think she's off with another man. It's just the whole thing is a mess. And within our social context, we don't have enough control of these relationships to prevent all this mess from happening. So everybody's going crazy over it. It just makes you mad and insane when you get too involved sexually with another person. You just become a different person. You become degraded, you become crazy, emotional, out of control, do things, say things you wouldn't normally do and say. That's why it has to be done in the right way so those things don't happen, or those things are minimized. Bhakti Carol says, but is it all the fault of the talk shows, media, computer sites? I think it would add to the problem, and culture here doesn't teach to avoid relationships, but the individual makes choices. We are taught, I think, to a great degree to be true in relationships, even in the U.S. I think the problem is not what you say is true, but I think part of the problem is one thing is what we're taught, and the other thing is what we see. And what we see is much more powerful than what we're taught, because what we see undermines what we're taught, because we may be taught one thing, but we don't see it. The person you respect runs off with another man's wife. And he might have been the one teaching you not to do that. And it's very subtle, because it's coming up everywhere. Respected people are talking about illicit relationships they're having, and it's accepted as and often accepted as normal. Of course, yes, people who are in respected positions, when they go off and engage in illicit connection with someone other than their wife, people they don't like it. We have standards in society, but before they're married, then it's a whole other thing. The way they relate, the sexes relate, it's contaminating to hear about it, to be aware of it, to see it. yes, we have choices, and I think a lot depends on what we cultivate internally as our own standard. In other words, as I was saying, what are our boundaries? What is too much for us in terms of sexual connection and relationships with the opposite sex? Where are our boundaries? What are our negotiables and what are our not negotiables? This is how far I will go. I won't go any farther. I won't watch these movies. I won't look at these magazines. I won't read these stories. I won't be intimately connected with a member of the opposite sex. I will only connect to this degree in formal situation, like that. So we can make those choices. Okay, now we're back. Kremlin has joined us. Kremlin has been listening. So, Anushka is saying it happens all over the world. Yeah. And you have, Prabhupada says something. That's amazing. Prabhupada talks about Vishramita Muni, this great yogi, super powerful. We don't have people who are powerful like that. And he was alert. He was alert. And he fell down. Sobhari Rishi, he fell down. And who else? Vishramita, who else? Who was the other one? Vishramita and Vashishta, was it? Prabhupada gives the example. It was like great powerful yogis, and they're alert. They're in meditation, and they hear some beautiful woman. Her ankle bells. They open their eyes, and they're like, oh my God, she's beautiful. Come over here, let's talk. And they give up their meditation, and they fall. And then you have Thakur Haridas. He couldn't fall. He had totally taken shelter of the holy name. But anyway, the point I was making is the Prabhupada says, many stalwarts, Prabhupada often uses this word stalwart. What does stalwart mean? It's very, we sometimes use the word in Krishna consciousness, fixed up. This devotee is fixed up. He's fixed up. Maybe that's Prabhupada's translation of stita, situated. Stita di muni, fixed up muni, fixed in consciousness. Stita di muni, fixed in consciousness. So we say he's fixed up. He's a stalwart. Prabhupada said many stalwarts, powerful. Maybe fixed up's not a good word because they fell. Many stalwarts in the devotional line, dedicated people. Many stalwarts in the devotional line fell victim to the allurement of women. Wow, and you read that and you think, well, why even try? If the stalwarts fell down, I'm just a insignificant jiva who has come from being in gross maya, in Kali Yuga, overcome by ignorance. What's their hope for me? But Prabhupada says there is hope for us by grace of Guru, because you have Guru's mercy. You have the power of Krishna behind you, the power of Guru. Then you can do it. So we have to understand that. But at the same time, if we don't get that mercy, then what is the hope? How can we do it? We'll be like sitting ducks. Okay. So yes. Okay, where are we here? Happens all over the world. Yeah, happens all over the world. It's been happening since Adam and Eve, I guess. And I was reading something. There's a story, one of the Puranas, about, I think his name is Adama and his wife. So maybe they got Adam and Eve from one of the Puranas. Anyway, yes. So, point is that our society it's sex crazed, and if we don't watch out, we get infected. And so there has to be stringent control. And how do we control it? We have to be aware of the pitfalls in the first place. What are they? We have to be aware of how, or at least acknowledge how susceptible we are to those pitfalls, and then value the brahmachari ashram or brahmacharini ashram or the vanaprastha sannyas or the grihastha ashram, whatever ashram we're in or want to be in. Value what those principles are. And if you're married, that means You make it work somehow or other with your wife or husband. That's it. It's for better or for worse, whether you like it or not. You make it work, because it's not just about your happiness, but it's about your spiritual elevation. And it's often said that for a man, the wife is his protection. It's his protection from the other women out there. Because generally when a man's married, other women who know he's married will not try to make a pass at him, although, of course, that's happening too. But generally, there's more protection, and then he has the family and the home to dedicate himself to be satisfied with, so there's protection there. So, it is now 9:06. We're going to read another letter next week, and Spiritual Sky is giving us the enlightened statement that when we have no interest in sex in any way, we are considered liberated, or asking the question. Yeah, that's true. Prabhupada said that. No eating, no sleeping. We want to give up eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's interesting way of, or that's one of the desires of the devotee. He would like to, or she would like to come to the point where he or she did not have to sleep. You could engage in service 24 hours a day. Wouldn't that be nice? We just go home now. Here it's after 9, so we go home and go, oh well, I've got the whole night. Could read the Bhagavatam tonight for 6 hours, and then we'll go to Mangalartik in the morning, and we'll just go on. We don't have to sleep. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Get a lot more done. And devotee doesn't like to sleep. Prabhupada didn't like to sleep. And a devotee wants to be completely celibate. He wants to have no desire to enjoy the opposite sex. And he doesn't want to fight, and he would like to reduce his eating, and if he didn't have to eat, great. I mean, this is an advanced devotee. If he could maintain his body without eating, then he wouldn't have to cook, wouldn't have to clean up after he cooks, wouldn't have to go shopping, wouldn't even have to go to the toilet, or rarely go to the toilet. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Think of all the time you'd save. So Prabhupada said, yes, that's liberation. And Radha Krishna Devi says, it's like zombie apocalypse. I had a dream about this last night. Wow. I think we are all zombies in the hands of Maya. So Maya has created this attraction between man and woman. It's very, very powerful. Prabhupada, in the Bhagavatam, it says that you have these big, powerful men, Kshatriyas, and they'll defeat so many other powerful Kshatriyas, and those Kshatriyas will bow at their feet, and they'll come back to their kingdom, and then they'll bow at the feet of their wives for sex. So men are controlled by this. It's just the way it's been created. And to get out of the material world, one has to control it. One has to transcend it. So Sarah says, Sarah just snuck right in there when I wasn't looking. Welcome, Sarah. Better late than never. Sarah says, nowadays married couples don't want to bring children into the world because of so many problems for our planet Earth. The future is unknown. Yes. They still want to have sex to satisfy their natural inclination, but not procreate, and remain in Krishna consciousness and become preachers. Is this acceptable for the future of married devotees? Ah, what a question. Well, if you look at what Prabhupada says about sex, and you look what the Manu Samhita says about sex, sex is meant for procreation. So if you're not going to procreate, then you're not supposed to have sex. So the question is what to do if you don't want to procreate, but you want to have sex. Well, that's called illicit sex. Now, there's illicit sex in marriage, and the advantage of illicit sex in marriage is the wife gets pregnant, then the husband and father are there. So, but it's sinful to prevent artificially a soul from entering the womb by using contraception. Of course, then you'll say, well, we won't use contraception, we'll just have sex at a time and the wife won't get pregnant. Yeah. these things are going on, and it's not certainly what Prabhupada wanted, but it's better than polluting other men and women. And as I said, the goal is to become free from sex. So one could say if they're doing that with the goal to become free from it, but they just can't control themselves now, that's one thing. If they're doing it just to enjoy, then it's really just going to create a stronger desire to do it, to increase it. Because anything you do, generally, it increases the desire to do it. Oh, I'm getting put on the spot here tonight. I could talk more about this one-on-one, but when it's broadcast all over the world, I have to just kind of give a general idea. If we want to be more specific, if anybody want to contact me, we can speak more specifically about this. And you want to give the standard answer, because the standard answer is what Prabhupada taught us, and the standard answer is don't have illicit sex because you want to become liberated. Prabhupada's point was the whole point is, he said sexual attraction is like a fever, so the whole point is get rid of the fever. Right? Isn't that the point? The whole night I've been looking at the microphone instead of the camera. That is totally weird. Okay, now I'm going to look at the camera instead of the microphone. So the whole point is to get rid of the fever. The sexual fever. So it's just couple having sex but not having kids. It's just increasing the fever. That's how Prabhupada would explain it. And then he would also explain that you have sex for having children. That's what it was designed for. And it's irresponsible to just be having sex and trying to avoid having children. And it's not helpful for one's spiritual life. So then the point is that sometimes doing something which is not helpful for your spiritual life can be helpful. It doesn't make sense, does it? Well, if someone is on a certain level of consciousness, doing the wrong thing becomes the only thing that they can do to survive before they get to do the right thing. So that's why the other answer comes in. Well, if that's going to prevent you from doing more wrong things and falling even lower, and it's going to help you become detached eventually, then that may be possible concession. But I think the important thing to note is that whenever you're doing something that's not the standard, you should know this is not the standard. What a lot of times devotees may do is rationalize it and go, well, nobody can follow this. We know nobody can follow. So just, be honest and just do it. That may be true, but the point is, don't rationalize it that this is the new standard. So, okay, if nobody can do it, well, you don't know if nobody can do it, but say many people can't do it. And say, but it's the goal. Because we're not going to get out of the material world while we're still doing this, because this is what binds us here. So as long as we know what the goal is, and we know that's where we're supposed to go, and what we're doing, if it's not the right thing, we acknowledge this is not really the right thing. I am so fallen, therefore I'm doing this, because doing the wrong thing is helping me. I'm so low that I have to do the wrong thing to get up. That's an understanding. Okay. So, thank you for that question, Sarah. So, Radha Krishna says, this is not really related, but is just for fun in relation to zombies. And it's about Ekadasi and about self-control, if anyone's interested. Okay, there's So, you have to make fun of ourselves sometimes because we're products of Kali Yuga and not very self-controlled. Now, I would like to end this by saying, by Krishna's mercy, anything's possible. That's what the Shastra tells us. Dukkam karoti vachalam pangulangayate garim yakrapatam hamvande sri guru dinatainam. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, a blind man can see stars in the sky, a lame man can cross mountains, and a dumb man can recite poetry. And Shastra says, if you remember Lord Chaitanya, easy things, difficult things become easy, and if you forget him, easy things become difficult. So something as difficult as controlling our sex desire is possible. Prabhupada said it is possible. But what I find is that achieving these goals in Krishna consciousness is possible, but we have to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And a lot of the time we're not absorbed. Then we run into problems. And then we think maybe Krishna consciousness is not working, it's not powerful enough, we're too fallen. Generally the problem is we're not absorbed enough in Krishna consciousness. And the Prabhupada said, be absorbed in Krishna's Leela, because Krishna is the real enjoyer of the opposite sex, not us. Okay. So, we're going to sign off here. There's no more comments. Thank you for listening. I hope this has helped you better understand Prabhupada's statements about women and the nature of women, the nature of men, and may you all become more and more self-controlled. Hare Krishna.